All right, let's jump right in. We're going to break down one of the most critical skills in all of hotel management, the art and science of budgeting. Our goal here is to demystify this whole process and show you how it's really a powerful, strategic tool for success.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to all of you. As an AI expert who spent years in the trenches of hotel operations, I've seen just how vital solid financial planning is. I'm really thrilled to be your guide on this topic and help you build the skills you're absolutely going to need for a successful career.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with why budgeting is so incredibly important. Then we'll walk through its annual cycle and break down the key stages. After that, we'll see how a budget goes from just a plan on paper to a real performance tool. And finally, we'll tie it all back to the big picture, your hotel's overall strategy.
Okay, first things first. Why do we call the budget the blueprint for success? What does that even mean? Let's get a clear definition.
A hotel budget is so much more than just a spreadsheet of numbers. Think of it as a dynamic financial game plan. It takes your hotel's grand vision and translates it into real, measurable targets. It's all about predicting demand, getting a handle on costs, and making sure every single resource is put to work in the smartest way possible.
Now, great budgeting isn't something you just do once and then forget about. Not at all. It's a continuous cycle, and it has a very distinct rhythm. Getting a feel for this annual flow is absolutely key.
What this timeline really shows you is that budgeting is a marathon, not a sprint. I mean, look how early it starts, all the way back in Q3 of the previous year. That's when teams are digging into market analysis. Then by Q4, each department is drafting its own plan, and then they all come together to make sure everything lines up. The final budget gets locked in before the new year. But check out that last step, ongoing. That's the kicker. The process never really stops, it just shifts into a constant cycle of reviewing and adjusting.
So, how do we actually build this thing? How do we get from those early ideas all the way to a final approved document? Well, it happens in 4 core stages that are a mix of hard data and a whole lot of conversation.
It all kicks off with market analysis. You got to know what's happening out there to project your revenue. Next up is operational planning, where you look inward to figure out your expenses, everything from payroll to linens. Then comes the really critical part, alignment. This is where all the departments, sales, F&B, food and beverage, housekeeping, get on the same page. Finally, that unified plan goes up to leadership for the final sign-off.
In this right here, this is the secret sauce. Teamwork. This isn't some decree that comes down from the executive office. No way. The pros know that when everyone collaborates, when sales is talking to housekeeping, who's talking to F&B, the budget is way more accurate. And maybe even more important, the entire team feels like they own it. They're committed to hitting those goals.
Now, once that budget is approved, is the work done? Not even close. In fact, this is where the real fun begins. This is where the plan meets reality and the budget becomes your tool for control and for learning.
This is so important to remember. Your budget is a living, breathing document. It is not a static report that you create once and then file away in a drawer. It's meant to be used, to be challenged, and to be measured against what's happening in the real world. That's where its true power is.
And this is how you bring it to life. Every month or every quarter, you do this simple thing. You compare what you planned to do with what actually happened. That variance column, that's where the story is. You see that positive variance in room revenue? Fantastic news. We beat our goal. And hey, F&B costs came in under budget. Another win. But then you see labor costs. We've got an unfavorable variance there. We overspent. And that's not a failure, it's a question. It's the budget telling you to ask why. Was it a ton of unexpected overtime? Is our scheduling off? Do we need to train our staff to be more flexible?
And that is the whole point. This isn't about finger pointing. It's about being smart, being agile. These reviews give managers the power to see what's working and what's not, and to pivot their strategy on the fly as the market, and it always does, changes.
This brings us to the highest level of thinking here. We need to understand that budgeting is not just an accounting task. It is the financial expression of your hotel's entire strategy. Let's be crystal clear on the difference. Strategy is the big, long-term vision. It answers the question, where are we trying to go? The budget, on the other hand, is the short-term, actionable financial plan. It answers, okay, so how exactly are we going to get there this year? The two have to be perfectly linked. Because if they aren't connected, well, you've just got a plan with no real purpose. You might be hitting your numbers, but you could be driving in completely the wrong direction. moving further and further away from what your hotel is all about.
So think about it like this. Your hotel's long-term strategy, that sets the ultimate destination on the map.
And the budget? Well, the budget is the detailed turn-by-turn roadmap you use to navigate the journey and actually reach that destination. So, I'll leave you with this to think about. As you step into leadership roles in this industry, you're going to be the one drawing that map each year. So the big question is, how will you make absolutely sure that your roadmap is always leading your team to the right destination?